Hello and welcome to another training video in the Living Landscapes project. In this session, we'll take a detailed tour of the Living Landscapes website, exploring each button's function and learning how to navigate the site. Since you've joined the project, you should have received a web link along with a unique user code. This code is specific to you and is essential for accessing and creating features within the Live Map portal. So the map is shared among all participants, so you'll be able to see other people's drawings and interpretations pop up around areas of interest. Your user code plays a key role in maintaining privacy. So under GDPR, names are hidden from view, but we keep a secure record of your code, and this allows us to support you if you encounter any issues with your drawings, or if you'd like to be contacted about archaeological discoveries you've made. So let's dive into the Living Landscapes portal. So I'm just going to click my link here. So when you click the link that we've provided, you'll be taken to portal, and this is what it will look like. So let's go through how to move around in your map. So you do that by holding the left button on your mouse, hold that down and drag the map around. Don't worry if you've gone too far. You press the house button, the house icon in the bottom right hand corner. If you click on that, it'll take you back to our focus area. To zoom in, use the wheel on your mouse, push it in to zoom in and pull it back to zoom out. Or you can use the plus button down here to zoom in and the minus to zoom out. In the top left, you have three other icons. The first one looks like a magnifying glass, and this is our search by address. So if there's a specific area I'm interested in, I just have to type in the address. You will then get a list of addresses. So you click on the one that you're interested in, Simmons Bath, and that'll take me straight to Simmons Bath. When I finish searching by address, I just press the close button and that'll stop that there. Our next icon looks like a stack of squares, and this is our layers. So this is all the data that's available to us in the map. So here we have a list of data, and some of them are grouped. And when they're grouped, they will have this triangle next to them. And if you click on that triangle, it'll show you the actual layers underneath this name. You close it again, click on it again to close that. If you hover over a layer, so the Living Landscapes data, we can see an eye pop up. Same with potential monuments, sample monuments and status. This means that the data is visible to us on the map. If it's not visible, it will have an eye with a line through it. To make it visible, I just click on the eye with the line through. That should make it visible. If it doesn't make it visible, it's because the layers in our group is turned off. So if I expand this here, I can see that all of the HER records underneath are turned off. So I just need to click on that eye to make them visible. Now we have the Living Landscapes data. So if I expand that, and I'm not too sure what I'm looking at actually, I can click on the legend here. And this is our key. So this tells us what we're looking at. So we can see that our potential monuments should be red areas. That's what that symbol means. Our sample monuments are blue areas. Our HER monument records are either a purple triangle, a purple line, or a purple area. That's what polygon means, area. If I want to know more about what I'm looking at, so I have the monument records visible, but I want to know exactly what they are, I just click on one. So I want to know more about this point record here. Once you've selected something, it will highlight blue. So that means it's selected. And we get this pop-up box appear. And that gives us more information about the point that we have selected. If I don't want the pop-up box in the middle of the screen, I can press the dock button here to dock it to the side. The pop-up box gives us more information. So we have the name. So it's a medieval or post-medieval bank, terraced track. Our monument types, we talked about our monument types in an earlier session. So we have a bank or a trackway. We have our unique monument ID. Our record type is a monument, and we have a little summary, a bit more about what we've selected. We also have a URL link that if we click view, it will take us to the Historic Environment Record website so we can read more about it and actually have a look at some pictures. To unselect your feature, just press the close button in the pop-up and that'll deselect it. And then you can select another feature to find more about it. So this one's a nursery plantation. We have our monument ID, little summary description of what it is, and we can click on the URL link to take us to the website so we can learn more about it. Press close to deselect that. So we have our living landscape status, we have our potential monuments. So these are the records that we create during this project. And they'll come up as red areas. We then have our sample monuments, which if we looked at our legend are blue areas. So if we zoom out, I can see the blue areas there. So I'll zoom in. And this is just an example data set for you to refer back to if you ever get stuck. So you can click on each individual feature that's been drawn and you can see what we think it is. You can also turn on your lidar. So if we show the lidar underneath, and the blue flashing dot just means it's loading. And we turn off our living landscapes data, HER, you can see what has been recorded. We then have our status, and this isn't visible at the moment, but once you've created a monument, it will come out as a red area. When that monument is being checked by the Heritage Ranger, it will turn into an orange. Once it's been verified and ground truthed, the colour of that monument will turn to green to say that it's been recognised, it is an archaeological feature, and it's been put on the Historic Environment Record website. We then have our HER data, so we have our monuments and events that we talked about earlier. And our events should be green, so if we turn them on and get quite busy with everything on, and we look at our legend, we can see that our event records are green triangles, green lines, and green areas. Just turn that off. We then have our Historic England aerial investigation and mapping data. So let's expand that. Let's turn on the big group layer. And let's turn on our details mapping. So these are individual features or monuments that have been recorded using aerial photography. And again, we can click on them to find more about them. We have our layer, so that's our monument type. And you can see that it's a ditch, and we talked about ditches in our previous sessions. It's been assigned post-medieval, the period. And we talked about those further interpretations. So this is a drainage system. We also then have the evidence, so it's an earthwork. And we have our source. So this is the image that it was discovered in. So it's discovered in the 1973 aerial photography image. We then have our HER number, so it's linked to our Historic Environment Record data. And we have the URL link to that so we can learn more about it. We then have our monument extents. So these are areas that have been drawn around individual features on monuments. So this big yellow area will be capturing the extent of all of these individual drainage features. And again, you can click on that. However, the information about this is quite limited. We then have our lidar visualizations. So at the minute we're looking at simple local relief model. Now you can't look at two visualizations at the same time because they're stacked on top of each other. So to be able to have a look at your VAT, if we turn it on and we wait for the blue dot to stop flashing, we have to turn off our simple local relief model to see it. And that's because the simple local relief model is on top of the VAT. So the same goes for the sky view factor. You must turn off your VAT to be able to see your sky view factor, and you must turn off your sky view factor to see your analytical hillshade. You must turn off them all to be able to see your digital terrain model. The same goes for your aerial photography. So if we turn on our aerial photography and we wait for the data to load, we'll see our aerial photography popping up at the side, but we have to turn off all the lidar visualizations to be able to see the aerial photography. Now at the bottom left hand here, we have a scale, so it's 100 meters. And if you zoom out, it'll get bigger. And if you zoom in, it gets smaller. So we're at 50 meters at the moment. If we were to zoom in again to 20 meters, you'll see that some of our layers are grayed out. And that just means it's invisible at this current scale. So we just have to make sure that we're at 50 meters to be able to see our aerial photography and our OS raster. So let's turn on our OS raster. We'll wait for that to load. So that's loaded, blue dot has stopped flashing. However, we can't see it, and that's because our aerial photography is stacked on top. So we just have to make sure that our aerial photography is turned off to be able to have a look at our OS raster. To close your layers, just press the X button up here. The next icon next to this is our measurement tool. So if we click on our measurement tool, it'll ask us to start clicking in the map to place your first point. So I'm going to zoom into something I'd like to measure, and I'd like to measure the length of this feature here on this side. So I zoom in and I just click the left button on my mouse, and then I drag it to the end, and at the end I double click, and then that should stop the measurement. And then that's telling me that that's nearly 200 meters long, and I can change my unit. To create a new measurement, just press new measurement, and then you can record. Click and measure the length there. If you wanted to measure an area, you just click on this tab next to it. So let's calculate the area in between. So I'm going to click left click on my mouse to start measuring. And then when I want to make a directional change, I click the mouse again once. Again once. So every time I want to make a change to the direction, I will just click. And then my last point, I double click to stop the measurement. And then it gives me an area and perimeter. And again, you can change the unit. To stop measuring, just press the X button. Now, in the bottom left hand, we have our scale, but we also have this box above it. and that will take us to another map. So if we click on that image, it will take us to a historic map. And we can have a look at our layers, and it will tell us that it's the Ordnance Survey 6 inch to the mile, dated between 1888 and 1913 historic map. So we can always have a look at historic maps to see if something is recorded in it. To navigate back to your lidar, just press on the lidar image and it'll take you back to the map with all of our data and lidar in it. On the right hand side, we have this editor pane or editor box. When we're ready to record something, we navigate to our potential monuments. So let's find an area of interest first. And I am going to zoom in here. And I can see quite a few archaeological features already coming out in the lidar. So I am going to record this white mound. When you're happy and you're ready to record, you press on potential monuments. It will then take you to the editor, and it's asking you to click on the map to start drawing. So I'm going to click a point. Now what I'm trying to do here is I am trying to capture the extent of the feature I'm recording, so the extent of the white. And you can do it really detailed, or you can just draw an area around. It is entirely up to you. So let's do a couple together. So I am going to click my left mouse button on the mouse, and when I want to make a directional change, I click it again. And don't be too quick with this. Take your time. The more points you add, the more detailed it will become. And like with the measurement tool, your last point you have to double click really quickly for it to draw and recognize it and stop drawing. We then get some options pop up in our editor pane. And these are things we need to record. So we have our monument type, and everything with a little star or asterisk next to it means it's required. Your drawing will not save unless you've filled in these boxes. So our monument type, and remember we talked about types and we went through those. So this is a mound, so I'm going to look for mound, and I'm just going to click on mound. The period, I suspect this might be a barrow, but I'm not too sure. So I can either put it as Bronze Age for a barrow, or I can put it as unknown, and I'm going to put it as unknown. Now I didn't actually have a look at our HER data before I did this, so I'm just going to leave this here. When you're in the middle of creating a feature, you can't go and click on other data sets in the map. Otherwise you will lose what you've drawn and recorded. But that's okay, I can come back to that and update it. We then have a notes, so I can type anything I like in here. And it might be that this monument is related to something else I've seen, so I might want to pop it in there. I might actually know what this is, so I might put in what it is, but I don't, so I'm just going to leave it blank. My confidence in this, I am very confident. It was really bright. I think this is a real feature, so I'm going to put high. And then I must put in my user code, my unique user code I was provided to be able to save it. Once I'm happy with everything I've drawn, I just press create. And that saves that feature there for me. Now I'm still in editing mode, and I know that because it's still telling me to click on the map to start drawing. I can't touch the map unless I come out of editing. So I'm just going to press back here. If I click on that, I get taken back to the editor pane, and that's editing stopped. And then I can continue and have a look at the map. So the thing I wanted to have a look at was the HER data, and I just wanted to double check. So I'm going to turn off my events. that a monument hadn't been recorded before. Now there are two very big areas on top of my mound, so I'm just going to double check them both. So I've just clicked on that one, so let's click there. Medieval roads, that's not anything to do with our monument. What's this? Narrow ridge and furrow, and so that's nothing to do with our monument. So actually I don't need to update my monument record there. I can keep it how I recorded it. So let's have a look for another feature. And I might turn off my HDR data. So this is a bank that we had a look at in our previous sessions. So I'm going to record it. So I'm going to press on my potential monuments, and I'm just going to start drawing around the white to capture the extent of this bank. Remember, the more points you put on, the more detailed, so you can really take your time with this, or you can just put a big box around it. And the last one, well, I'm not too sure where it finishes, but I'll pop it there. I'll double click. So our monument type is a bank. Our period, I do not know when it was created. I didn't check my historic environment record, but I'll have a look after. My notes, I don't have any. My confidence in this is high, and my user code, I pop in here and I press create. I'm still in editing mode, so I must make sure that I go back before I can move around in my map. So I'm going to put on my HDR data. I've just noticed that my Exmoor HDR monument polygon is grayed out, and that means it's invisible at current scale. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit just so that those areas pop up. And then I can click on it. So this is a leet, 4 post-medieval contour leets. It's possible that this bank is part of those leets, so I can always zoom out and have a look. So there's 1, there's 2. That might be the third one, but I'm not too sure. I can't see a ditch like the other two. So what I'll do is I am going to highlight this monument ID number, right click and copy, and deselect. Turn off my HDR, and then I'll click the monument I've just drawn. And in my notes, I can put it in the HDR number if I want, but because I'm just not too sure, I'm going to put it in my notes, possibly related to, and then paste that record number. And then what I'll do is I'll press update, and then that saves that record. Now, one thing to remember, so if I create, the bank extends this way, and I'm just going to do a not detailed, so I'm just going to put a box around it. If I'm not too happy with what I've drawn, now is my opportunity to delete that record. Once you press the create button, your feature is saved. You cannot delete it. So if you want to delete it now because you're not happy, now is your opportunity to do that. So to do that, I'm just going to click on my feature, and on my keyboard, I'm just going to press delete. And that deletes your record, and then I can redraw it. So you can update your records at any time, but you can't delete them once they've been created. Let's go through this again. It's a bank. I don't know when it was made. Possibly related to, my confidence in it is high. That's my user code, and then create. Still in editing mode, so I'm just going to make sure that I go back. Let's put our fence on in our HER data monuments. If I click on my potential monument, but actually I wanted to have a look at the polygon underneath it, all I have to do is press the next button in my pop-up. Click too fast. It's next. That will then select anything that's underneath. Okay, so our big area was stacked underneath our living landscapes data. So when I clicked on my monument feature I've just made, but actually I wanted to have a look at this area instead, all I had to do was press next, and then it'll reselect. I can go back to reselect. So let's have a look at another example of that. So let's say we wanted to have a look at these two records together, this point, triangle. So I've clicked on the triangle, but there's an area underneath. So it's selected the point because it's stacked on top of the area. And that's what's selected first. But all I have to do is press next to be able to select the feature underneath. Now, during this project, you will find other red areas pop up. And that's other people's drawings. It's other people's interpretations. You can select on other people's recordings. And it will tell you what they think it is, and it will give you their unique user code. It will also appear in your editor pane. We please ask that you do not update or change anything that anybody else has recorded. You also cannot delete anything anybody else has made. It will come up with a warning to tell you that you can't. And that's it for how to navigate the website. So we've had a look at all of the buttons functions, we've had a look at what kinds of data are in our map, and we've looked at how to record this. In the next session, we'll be looking a bit more at how to record, and we'll do a few more examples, but we'll also look at other resources we can use to help us interpret what we're looking at. Thank you for listening, and I shall see you in the next session.